Hi, everybody. Happy New Year. This is I Am Alicia Norris Official. Today, we're going to get started with our very first of 2023 Dear Black Business segment series. So this series, I'm going to be focusing on Black creatives and what they bring to the world and how they like to make their mark in society. So I'm super excited about the people that I have that will be coming up for this next series with Black creators and artists. I think having a platform for us to express ourselves and to come together and explain, the importance of having other Black creators and artists come together and collab, and how important it is, and their journey and everything that they've gone through in their path and succeeding in their entrepreneurship journeys. So that's something that we're going to get started with today. Today I have Michelle Farley. She is an awesome children's author, as well as she goes into copywriting when it comes to how to basically get your points across in your websites and your descriptions. She's going to talk about that a little bit. She's also going to talk about her books, and hopefully we can get a little segment, a little blurb for one of her books. So I'm super excited to bring her on. I'm going to try to have her join in a second. Actually, I'm going to see if she's ready now. I'm going to pull her up so we can get started. And to get more information about her and her storytelling. So I'm trying her storytelling and her copywriting and school.
Hey,
Hi,
I'm
how
good. How
are
are you?
you?
It's for real.
Good. Haven't
Like
seen
it's
you like
been
forever.
maybe a few years, for sure, for sure.
It's been a minute. Exactly. But Michelle, thank you so much for coming on Dear Black Business. This is a segment and series that I like to have for different businesses. And this segment, we're talking about creatives and people that are artists. So I wanted to bring you on because I thought you would be a great person to have on this segment and to talk about your journey and talk about how you represent yourself in this world and what you like to bring and share light into this world and what you do. So my first question is gonna be, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do, and then kind
Sure.
of
Well, one of
go
those
on from
things that
there?
I'm a mom and I actually have to get someone really quickly. So I'm sorry. So hold on one second. Hold on one second.
Oh no! Yay!
Oh my goodness.
He's so cute, guys.
Okay. Yeah.
I thought he
No.
was gonna
So
make an
he used
appearance real quick.
him or his father set an alarm for 7 p.m. So that I was like, what is going on right now? So no, I have him set up. I heard little feet coming up the steps, and he did a U-turn. So right.
Good job, Malcolm.
Oh, so yeah, who am I? That's a very good
Okay.
question. I like to think of myself as a creative entrepreneur. I do a couple of different things. So I am a copywriter, as you mentioned before, children's book author.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny that you said content creator because I need to do better at creating content on a consistent basis. Um, and I'm also a filmmaker, so like working on my first
Mm-hmm.
documentary. We haven't decided if it's going to be a feature or a short yet because it is expensive. Um, so yeah, so really excited to wrap that project. Hopefully soon.
This is new. I did
Oh
not know
yeah,
that.
because
So
I've been working on it for a
exciting.
couple of years now,
Filmmaking.
like really after my mom passed. And I want to talk about like
Mm-hmm.
caretakers and the sandwich generation. And then, with documentary, it just kind of I had an idea and then it kind of takes a life of its own. So yeah, so we had to
Kind of go,
pause
yeah.
it and then regroup, and then with some new stories that were added. So it's exciting, but it's also like,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, when will it end?
Daunting a little bit. So how long have you been on your creative
That's a good
journey?
question. Um I think I fully embraced it probably in college. Like I knew that I wanted to do stuff
Mm-hmm.
in like writing, and I knew I wanted to do entertainment type things. And I think I was just listening
Mm-hmm.
to, the older generation. You need to have a secure job. You need
Saying,
a da,
don't
da,
do that.
da,
You
da.
need that
Yeah.
job,
And
that nine to
so, I was like, oh, maybe I'll
five.
do entertainment law. And so for a long time I was like pre law. And I was sitting in a political science class, and I was like, "Yo,
So
this is
follow me.
not, this ain't it, Lord."
This
I
is
was
not
like, "What
it.
you got?" And I talked to my advisor, and he like that day it was like, "This is what I think. This is what I'm hearing
Mm-hmm.
from you." And so I switched to creative writing and film
Mm-hmm.
production, and it was like the best college experience after that.
It
Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah. And
eye
my
opening for
yeah,
you. Isn't that
yeah. And
crazy
people
how
were
like
like
that
still didn't
happens?
understand it. And I was like, but this is what like this is my zone of genius. Like, yes, this is when I first
I
like I
get
felt
it.
like
Mm-hmm.
this is where I'm these are my people. Like this is yeah, yeah.
This
I
is
was
my
actually
track.
seeing
This is
myself
where I'm supposed to
succeed.
be.
And I
Yeah.
was like, this is definitely where I want to be. Now
Mm-hmm.
I did, and I still do like my 9 to 5s, but I always have like
Right.
the creative outlet. And especially a creative outlet that like pays. So
Mm-hmm. Listen, that's the part. So I was when I was on your LinkedIn, I saw that you were talking about having like a freelance contract and all of those things when that's not when you still have your 9 to 5 and you're doing certain things for different people and different businesses. How do you feel like having that freelance contract benefits you instead of like do you have one that's generic or do you have one that you kind of this is like your template and you kind of
yeah,
model it
so
after
I
for
think the one
different
that I
people?
shared, that one was like a generic one. So and I think I might have done that one specifically for people who
Okay.
wanted to do copywriting, or thinking about,
Okay.
hiring a copywriter. So over the years, I've gotten very specific about like how long this project is going to be and what my responsibilities are and what are the
Mhm.
deliverables and what assets do I need in advance. I think it's just like trial and error. I've been able to get just very clear, like very clear deadlines so that no one is confused about like what the process is. Yeah,
The
yeah. And I would say in the very
expectations,
beginning,
yeah.
especially with my freelance business, like my processes was all over the place. Like I wanted to help people and I wanted
Mhm.
them to do their project, but then like almost to the point where I was being taken advantage of. Like these people were like, we got like
Yeah.
15 revisions, but there was nowhere in my contract where I said it's, stipulated how many. Yeah.
Says
So
how
little
many.
little things like that, just through time and, trial and error.
Exactly. So people who are going into copywriting or who want to do freelance, you would definitely suggest that they have these outlines where they're where they're basically giving stipulations like this is all I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do. If we got to go over into more revisions, this is how much it's going to cost. Because like you said, even for me when I was doing event planning and decorating, I kind of just left it kind of open so for people's imagination or for people's suggestions. So then when they came and they wanted certain things, I'm like, well, that's not really what
Right.
I was considering doing. And that's cost so much more of your time and of your effort. So you're like, well, I should have charged you more. So I think that was something that I learned too on my way that, yeah, you start off because you're starting off and you have your contract. You're happy to get that
Right.
signature on the contract,
So
but then you end
so
up
much more.
working so
Right,
much
right.
more,
And another thing that I had to
so much
notice too,
more.
like even in my contract, like I used to charge hourly and I would have that in the contract. And then I just started charging by the project because some things may take a shorter amount of time and then some stuff will
Right,
may not, but it's still time that I'm being like it's still my time being spent on your project. Yeah,
right. Your
and I think
expertise,
as like
absolutely.
freelancers or even people who are maybe like in the arts kind of industry, we sometimes like we want to get the art out, we want to be
Mm-hmm.
creative, and we don't think about the cost, like of all these different things.
Right.
Yeah,
Because it's what
yeah,
you love. It's what you
yeah,
love to
and
do. So you
like
don't
like
really
anyone
consider that
else,
part.
like when you first start off, you Google to see how much there is, and then so if you're just
Mm-hmm.
brand new, you could say, oh, I'm gonna charge $35 an hour. And mind you, this was 2012 prices, so I wouldn't recommend that for anybody. But I'm gonna charge 35 an hour, but someone else was charging like 65. He was like, well, if I do 35,
Mm-hmm.
I can get those people. Right. And
I'm
you could
guaranteed to
do
get it.
excellent work, but now
Mm-hmm.
you burned out because more people are going to come to you wanting that stuff. So,
Exactly.
just kind of balancing that out and just knowing what you're worth, knowing your worth and being okay with that. If people say no, because those are the people you don't want to work with anyway.
Absolutely. So how do you feel like being a creative and freelancing transition to you being a children's book author, which I absolutely
Thank
love. The
you.
books are so cute.
You know, I
And I know you might
don't
not.
even know if, I think it was one of those things of like, I knew I wanted to do it, but I don't know if it had anything to do with like being creative or being a copywriter. I think, I don't know, this sounds so flighty, but as a creative, like there's more than just one avenue for us. And sometimes like we should like, you know, like, okay, I'm a copywriter. I only do copywriting things. So I'm like, that's just not necessarily true. And so I had written down long time ago, before I was married, before I had a kid, that I wanted to do, to write a children's book. And so I think when I was pregnant with my son and we were looking for stuff for his library, you know, we were really big, like, it's going to be some brown boys. It's going to be like some, you know, and I was finding books like that, but they were all like, it was either like they were a superhero or they had a disability or it was like a family.
It was never just like
And I
every
was like, what
little
happens to like a
everyday
regular
type of
boy
situation.
like, who love his family, like who just want to
go
play with his family. And that's what like the thing that was missing. I was like, sometimes it's like, even in our kids, we're like, you have to be extraordinary to just to like be successful or to get attention. And I was like, what about just a regular kid? We all were like regular kids who just like playing trains with our, you know, our like whatever it was, or a board game or something. And that was just like the premise of it. I just didn't see that. And so that's how Dudley Magnificent was created. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it.
So cute. That's dope, bro. Because like I was telling Eric when we first watched the first book, I'm like, this is so cute because it just reminds you of like how our kid, like it's just a little boy who want to go experience life and have fun, enjoy, and it's like you said, it's not I have to run around with a superhero cape or I have to be like something crazy. Or like the Thanksgiving one. I absolutely love the Thanksgiving book that my niece bought, my cousin bought my son. But it's like there's always like,
well, it just be. Why can't they just be? And it's so funny because like the other day I was taking Malcolm to school. My son Malcolm, well, you know Malcolm, but everybody else. And he was like just happy to go to school, right? And like he started like running, and then he was like skipping, and then I was like, is that a frolic? Like, what is that? Like, what is? It's just joy. Like, you're just happy. And I was like,
joy.
And I was like, and I grew up a little differently. So like, it wasn't like you had to, I was just like, this is what I wanted. I was like, wow, he's just really happy. Like, I just never, and free and with no cares and the world, like the way it should be. And I think like not everyone in our generation, but we kind of grew up a certain way where like it was like, you know, when I was 5, I was on the good old regional transit authority. Okay, like I'm like, don't look at nobody. Look at your surroundings. Like it was a whole. At 5,
so much
like or going to. I was telling like Malcolm was like what did he say? Something about sitting in the back seat. I was like, I didn't have a back seat at 5. I was on the bus holding bread and eggs. Okay.
Listen, they don't understand it. Like how simple and easy and joyful they have it. Like I could don't look at nothing. Don't you touch nothing. The freedom of just being a kid and wanting and just being able to not have like that negative connotation. Like, oh, well, I got to do this. I can't do this. Let me be tight because I don't want to get in trouble. Like, let me just be free. That's what I got from that book, and I just enjoyed it. And I love seeing how our kids, our generation of kids, get that from us, from some of us as parents. That's rewarding because I know, like our parents, it was like it was almost like I'm preparing you for the real world. I don't care if you're 6. I'm like, what? Like I don't. Yeah, this don't happen. Like my mom worked, you know, she worked for like well, eventually she ended up working for RTA, and I was like, y'all, I was like ironing uniform shirts at like 8. Like I was balancing checkbooks at 10. Like I was a full like adult, right? So all this careless, this just, you know, Malcolm like chill out on his rug in his room and just chill and play and read. I was like, like, it's like I did okay. I was like, this is what I wanted. Like this is. Exactly. That's so beautiful. So as you go into writing, do you think you're going to expand outside of children's books?
Yeah. So I wrote a second one and it was like, take Deli to work day, which was another thing that was important to me too, is like, you know, I wanted him to go to work with his dad specifically. And I wanted him to like emulate him, you know, And I did little subtle things, and I don't like. One was like he went to work with his dad. His dad didn't really have a uniform, you know, but it was like, you know, black man going to work. Black man going to work. And he owned the company. Like, so like a lot of people didn't catch that, but I was like, it was like Magnificent Technologies was the building. So everything was like, you know, for him, that's his normal, right? I wanted it to be normal. Like, yes, my dad doesn't just have a job. He owns the company. Okay. He's giving other people careers. Like, so, I definitely want to expound on that, but also like kind of mentioning the content part. I felt like there was so much more that I can do with that second book as far as like workbooks, and I want to do like more kind of like life lessons in that, and like puzzles, and like so I feel like there's more content that can be pulled from that before I go on to the next thing, because I would say that was one of my if I could do it over again, I wouldn't have rushed doing the second one. I really would have focused on expanding out on the first one, and just making sure, like, you know, I had built up an audience, I had built up other materials with that, and then gone on to the second one. But eventually, because they are expensive, so I'm not gonna hold you.
So I publishing a book?
Well, it's
really, and
some illustrations. Listen. And the funny part is, like, I had so many more scenes in this second book, and she was like, we need to have a conversation. I was like, okay, I'm like, how can I tell this story with one image for three things? Because it is expensive, and that's probably the biggest, because the concepts and the stories are easy, but it's the illustration. It takes a very long time. And then the back and forth
to illustrate. So that's something to think about when people are writing books, is that the ideas might be there, but be prepared for the extra stuff that comes with it when you're trying to put a book together. Illustrations, from what she's saying.
It's not going to be a little. It's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot. And you know, and everyone doesn't take payment plans, or in, like, sometimes you got to, you know, I would suggest, if you are thinking about a children's book, like, to find someone who is maybe at the beginning of their career, still very talented, but won't be as expensive. Because the person that I started off with, she's my first two books. Like, now, like, she's in a I must use her, because I was like, I gotta keep it consistent. But like, she does not have. Now, them 2018 prices are gone. Like, they are done.
And it's crazy you say that, because I was listening to a podcast, and they were like, sometimes when we're starting out, we want to go to the biggest and best, and those are sometimes the most costly. But if you would get a village with the people that are on the same level with you in different genres, and work together, that's how you can build each other up. So that's funny you said that way, is because sometimes we do, like, oh, I want to hit it running, I want to do this, but then you look at your budget as a beginner, and you look at the price of somebody who's been in the business.
I can't do this, and then you get discouraged.
Like, okay, these prices.
I saw something similar like that with I think it was Issa Rae, and she was just saying, like, when she first got started, like, her crew of people were all people who were passionate, independent people that come together using their talents to, like, create, you know, her first web series. And those are the people she kept working with. And then, you know, they've all evolved into their own careers. And that's just the way, like, to kind of look at it. Like, if, you know, if you are a person that wants a children's book, to your point, there's a graphic designer, illustrator who's getting started, who wants to do this. Someone who, if you need someone to edit your book or copy edit, there's someone who's just getting started who needs the experience too. So there's definitely a way to, like, cut costs but not cut quality. So definitely, yeah,
exactly.
And be patient. Research. I know when you, like, especially as creatives, like, you get an idea and, like, the next day you want to do it. And I've just learned now, maybe because I'm older, just like, slow down. Like, this is good. Now let's just write this down. Let's write it out. Let's write it out. What does this look like? How can we, you know, how can this? Is this feasible? Has it already been done? Like, what is, you know? So that just helps not kill someone. Because before I'm like, they're trying to kill my dream. Like, now I was like, okay, like the dream, but now we need a roadmap to make this happen without burnout.
But that's good though. That's good advice. So, and that can go beyond just
being a creative. That should just be someone who's trying to do a goal or anything. Okay, this is a great goal to have, but let's write this down. Let's think about it. Let's sit on it. How can we attack this without burning ourselves out or discouraging ourselves, and doing many goals in between that? What can I accomplish within this goal that makes me feel like I'm getting it accomplished? Because if you don't, then you will get burnt out. You will get discouraged, and then you'll let somebody who's not even in your lane have an opinion.
For sure.
And
Or you just put it to the wayside, and then
months
later you see someone else do it. You're like, now why didn't I do what I knew I needed to do? They do it, right? They do it, right. I remember my pastor a long time ago. It was like everybody, like God gives people the same kind of vision, but there's some people just not gonna follow through. Yeah. Because my biggest thing was like I used to write goals with no timelines, and that was like my one of my biggest things. And when I got like a business coach and mentor, everyone was like, Michelle, this is great. Like, what's the deadline? When you gonna have this done? Like, and it holds you to it. And then I was like, and even if, and I think they gave me the grace to be like, even if you don't, if you say, I want to do such and such by February 10th, and February 9th gets there and you got nothing. It was like, give yourself the grace to set another date, but just be honest about it. Like, don't just, or just ignore it. Like, you don't know. Like,
make excuses about it. Exactly. Yeah. Awesome. So then let's go into copywriting and how that shows up with like on websites or on books.
So we've had a conversation. I'm going to say this because I know somebody's going to be like, so you trademark. Yeah.
You copyright.
My cousin has been like 2 weeks ago. I was like, cousin, now you have known me. It's not the same thing.
Not the same.
Right. Okay. So copyright. So the copyright with an R, that is when you have maybe a book or a piece of like music or art or some type of idea that you want to copyright, so that this is your baby. No one else can steal that idea from you, that concept. And then you got to go into some other stuff with like trademark and patents and all that other stuff, which I am not a lawyer. So that's the part of copyright. Copywriting with a W, that's more where I help people find a voice to their brand. So whether that's like anything that's customer facing. So whether that's a website, whether that's a Facebook ad, whether that's a commercial script, product descriptions, I help people to like find the words that work for their brand or their service or their product.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. I mean, it's a broad kind of thing.
Yeah. So you would do like if somebody, like you said, products. So if you were doing like somebody was doing shoes and they wanted to describe what the item was and like what it entails, you would write that for them to kind of basically make it clear and concise and not too jumbled up.
Yeah. So a lot of times, like especially with small businesses, like they'll try to do their own descriptions, and it's a pro and a con. They'll look at other examples of stuff, right? So certain brands, because they've been around for so long, they don't have to do as much like detail work, right? If you wanted to buy like Jordans, they're gonna give you the size. They're gonna give you if there's any special feature on the shoe, but bare minimum, right? Because they don't want people like, I like the color, they got my size. I'm about to order these today.
Right.
If you're making something like a sustainable tennis shoe, right? So no one knows who you are. Not saying that's a positive or negative thing. It's just a fact. No one knows who you are. But your product is unique in the fact that it's sustainable, right? So this could have been products, materials that were made from something else that have been reproduced for you to make the shoe. So now we want to pull on the things that make it unique. We also want to use like search engine or SEO keywords that are going to get pulled up in Google. Because there are people who are looking for like, I want a sustainable shoe. I want something that, so that's where I help people like stop trying to be like these top known companies and focus on finding your unique voice and finding your audience, finding your community. Like that's the thing. I think a lot of times is the reason why I love working with small business and mid-sized businesses is like it's the confidence thing they haven't really kind of grasped yet. Like I don't care if you make candles because like candles are not unique. I love candles, but it's not a unique product. What makes it unique is the person behind the brand. The brand makes it unique. So this is the reason why people be acting a fool going to what is that? What's the Bath and Body Works like acting a plum fool? I stayed in the queue. I stayed in somebody
These
cute.
$5
Like,
candles.
what's the day after Thanksgiving? Because I would really want this mahogany. Yeah, but you can do it online. So they send you an email and then they tell you to go to the link to wait. And I'm waiting. And I was like, why am I doing this? But I did it. Like, you know, so, but I've also done that for small businesses who have like a limited edition, like candle, because like the proceeds went to a nonprofit. It's just finding your unique, something that's unique about your product or service that no one else does. And then not comparing yourself to companies that have been around for like, you know, 20, 30, 40 years. Like Yankee Candle Company's been
Loyalty
around
already, because
forever.
it's
Like
totally
people,
different.
it doesn't even matter if the scents are the same. It's just like, it reminds them of, it has some type of connection to them, some type of nostalgia. And so with people with their own business, that's what you want to do.
Right.
You want them to have some type of feeling or nostalgia. And I feel like even with my business, like people, like there
Absolutely.
are larger companies than me for sure, but people like the one-on-one experience. They like who I am as a person. And so that's who they feel comfortable with and
Absolutely.
trust with their brand.
Absolutely. Even for me, it's like I'm not the biggest event center. I'm not the biggest mentor when it comes to having people get looking for event spaces, but it's just the person
For
that's
sure.
behind the brand that makes it what it is. So that's awesome. So for anybody who's like an entrepreneur or small business owner who's looking for you to do some work for them, what's something that what do they need to have coming to you? Like, do they need to have ideas? Do they already need to kind of have somewhat of a description? Like, what would they need if they were looking for a copywriter to help them
I
with
mean,
their website or
for their like if it's a product, like descriptions, those are pretty easy in a sense of like, you know, well, it's not easy. I don't want to go on a tangent, but some of the things like I just, so there's certain, when you get to a certain level in your business, and I'm sure you can like attest to this, like certain things I'm like, I don't need the money. I don't need it, right? And
I'm not doing
somehow
it.
I
It's
was
a no.
popping up in people's search engines for like stuff on like witchcraft and like just weird stuff, right? Paid a lot of money, but I was like,
It's a
listen,
hard
I
no.
was like, I got a lot going on, and what
The
I do
Lord
not
will
need,
not be pleased.
like what I do not need is that. I was like, this is not, Lord, this is not. Okay.
How you find
I was
me?
like, I don't know how you found me or who gave you my name, but you need to tell them not to contact me. I mean, it was a lot of inquiries. Like it was, you know, one or two, but like 10. I'm like, what? Where am I at?
Who's referring me?
Like, I do not. Oh, they call it something else. Whatever it is. So, so certain, you know, certain companies I just don't work with. It's just whatever. I don't, just, and as being a, you know, a small business, an entrepreneur, I don't have to. So, but for as far as like products, like you need to know what's if you're selling like anything that's like a supplement or something, like you need to like have to make sure that you know like what's in your product. And a lot of times people come to me and they're not sure, so they might have like a white label company where they're selling like those like fat burning pills or vitamins or something, but they don't know what's in it. Right. And I was like, you shouldn't feel comfortable selling something that you don't know what's in it. Yeah, you know, and so the part of me is like, I don't have to say anything. I can just take your money, but I was like, this is not gonna be good for you, right? So definitely knowing like what's in your product, if it's something that's like something that's going to be ingested, where your clothes are manufactured, if it's something you're working with a third party, just make sure you know where everything is coming from. And then tell me your unique proposition. Like I can help work through people with that, because sometimes people have a unique story or a new background. They just don't think that it's unique.
Right.
So those would be like the top things. As far as like website and branding, just like knowing their story, telling the whole story. And so I go through a full like really in-depth questionnaire. Like a lot of people get upset. They was like, you were not lying that this thing is long. Like I need to know, because everything that we read, right, it's entertaining, but most of it is psychologically based, right? It's based off of our emotions and how we think.
Absolutely.
So the questions that I ask, it gets people to think about like, oh, I didn't, you know, you're not just selling shoes, you know, you're selling yourself, right?
You're selling yourself.
Right.
You're selling
your events, you're selling experiences. it's not anyone go any location, but it's experience, right? From the beginning to the end. And so that's the thing that we have to like pull out. Now, some people come with the information and they just need help telling it. Some people just need help like fully. And so I do everything from like rewriting websites to doing full on like VIP days where we go through all of their written content, and then any other additional stuff that you know, businesses need. So people have a website, but they don't have an email list, right? And then they have an email list, but they're not talking to anyone until it's time to sell something. So your community is like, you just want my money. You don't really care about me.
Exactly.
Nothing. They just have
newsletters,
this inspirational something like nothing. So just I help like so it's kind of rambling now, but it's a variety of different things that I help people with depending on where they are in their business. So are you?
And thank you. I'm so excited that you wanted to come on and join me. I always ask my guests at the very last question, that is that if you were writing in your journal and you looked at all of your past experiences, what would you write to yourself in your journal today about you and your growth?
This is why I like pre-written questions. Like what? I was like that. About myself today.
Yeah, what would you write to yourself? What would you say to yourself?
About like today or just on this day?
Today, like if you were writing to yourself, just like, you know, like, hey, you did great. You did what you were supposed to do. Whatever it would be. Like, what would you say to yourself?
Goodness. I would say that I would tell myself that I am more than capable, and that like you know, a year from now, all of this hard work will, you know, it will like manifest into what I want it to be. Because I'm in this little thing right now where I'm really trying to decide like what is my next step within my business. What do I want to see, you know, to fully kind of go out there. But it requires a lot, and I'm, you know, so yeah. But I've been having these conversations, and so yeah. So that would be my thing. Like, you know, Michelle, you are fully capable to handle that.
Well, I know that you're capable then, Michelle. And you know what? I titled 2023 the year of acknowledgement, so I gave that to you.
Okay, acknowledgement. Yes.
Yes, of acknowledgement and of growth and being able to say like what I did and what I accomplished. People see it, and it's up.
I dig it. I dig it.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Michelle, today. And if there's any, if you want to give them your social media handles or your website.
Sure. So everything is Michelle Farley Writes. So on Instagram, Facebook. I'm old. Like Instagram, Facebook. I don't have a TikTok yet. I had one. I got rid of it because I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm up for this. Ew. Right?
It was a lot.
And then my website is michellefarleywrites.com. It is getting a refresh, so the new one will be up like next Wednesday. But yeah, I can hear you. I'm sorry.
Right?
Yes, Michelle Farley Writes on YouTube. Well. Yep. Look at you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time, Michelle, and be blessed, and thank you. And everybody be great on purpose.